All right, everyone, we should be live. We'll make sure that's actually the case. By the way, we are retaking Constantinople over on Pixel Planet. Do not tile it in with the red and yellow because, Turkey's already colored it in red. We're using blue, specifically Greek blue. You can go just slightly to the west and you can see the colors for yourself. Now, we are taking the Bosphorus back. We are taking Constantinople. So we're going to take that little area over, as well as any of the islands that are offshore of Turkey, because the Turks were bullying the Greeks, and they did call for aid specifically. For some reason, the Turkish people on Pixel Planet were trying to invade Greece from the north and take over their islands. So we've decided that we have interest as a great power on Pixel Planet, and so we are defending our Greek allies. We declare them to be our friends. Whether they consider Clankdom to be friendly or not is an entirely different story, but we're going to help you out anyway. So, start pixeling that shit in. Link pinned at the top of chat, of course, to the exact coordinates that we're working with if you're on YouTube, and cross-platform, of course, also on Rumble in the description. Let me make sure, by the way, that we're live on Rumble. I see chat's working, but that doesn't mean that the video is. Yes, it is. Okay. Welcome to today's news. Yes, also, we do have another update, actually, on Pixel Planet. It's very interesting. The admins there have locked the giant swastika that's off the shore of Africa, so you can't, pixel that in. You should still start pixeling in the yellow and red tiles around Africa into the smaller ones. And actually, I don't have a problem with the decision because I never called on a raid on their big swastika anyway. Our retaliation was to push them back because their Fibonacci bullshit was invading our territory. If they want to have a giant swastika out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, I don't really care. It just means we'll still be next door neighbors, but we'll have more territory. But right now, we've got to help our Greek allies as well. So that dark red, pixel it in with that medium blue. And then you've got sort of that laundromat blue, which is what I always called it since I was a kid, since every laundromat had that color. For the brighter red, the interior of Turkey. So that, again, link in the description and as well pinned at the top. Alamandorius, hey Sticks, I'm going to have to watch later. What do you think of this chain? Get MAGA Republicans elected, indict Trump ahead of midterms, someone does something stupid like them say, see, they are a threat. How likely? It's possible. It's entirely possible. Dr. Zeodin Sticks, I'm playing Ogre Battle 64 on emulator. One of the greatest games ever made. Extremely unsung. Very popular in Japan, but when they released the US version, they gave it almost no support whatsoever. Like, they didn't advertise that it existed. I only knew about it because of Nintendo Power at the time. Cyberbee, Pello Sticks, I hope you and your family are well. Have you seen the shenanigans the ATF have been up to? One of their agents tried taking a shotgun from a lady and was arrested. Look into it, perhaps? I did see that, actually. I saw the video of that arrest and thought it was funny. Johnny Azul. How long do we get Stick Sex Namer's cat back up in the ranks of the Grifties? Yes, also, if you go to the Grifties, grifties.com, our cat has fallen to 4th place. And I'm only at number 32, I think. I'm very sad about this. You can vote every hour if you want to. Stefan, Biden's speech is just the Democrats trying to emulate how they perceive right-wing populism a la Dark Biden. Yeah, it's really weird politically right now. By the way, on Pixel Planet, someone is trying to pixelate the ocean to that blue color. You're supposed to do that to the land. The water can remain the same. We're just we're griefing the Turkish people that are invading our Greek allies. So we've got to help them to retake Constantinople. Somebody could maybe make a couple of landmarks from Constantinople there at some point. Big Roman eagle or some shit. Minix 1969. Hey Sticks, check out musician entertainer Mark Rebele. Not sure if it's your type of music, but I'm sure you'll appreciate his talent. I'll have to check that out. By the way, I made mushroom soup last night, not that anybody cares, and it actually was very much on point. It was perfect. Recipe called for a little bit more lemon than I would generally put into really dilly soup already. A huge amount of dill, by the way, in that recipe. Really, really good. Liz loved it. She likes lemon in her soup. It's okay. It's growing on me, but a little bit less, I think. Next time, I think I'll cut it in half. Just to be clear. We've got a lot of news to cover today. We've got, first and foremost, backtracker Biden. This is a really important one. The other day, Biden released his insane, unhinged rant. It wasn't really much of a speech. It was more of a political rant with regards to Trump and MAGA, and effectively insinuated that a significant proportion of the country, some tens of millions of people, are not just problematic, they're extremists, they're terrorists, they're trying to attack democracy. Now today, he was asked with regards to his speech, and he's chuckling like a school child the entire time. He finds this funny. Yes, it's very funny when the person who is supposedly representing the United States is attacking a significant proportion of the U.S. population. And he was asked by Peter Doocy, do you consider all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country? And Biden, backtracking, answered, I don't consider any Trump supporter a threat to the country. So then why did you make your speech the other day? Was it just to rile up the libtoids for the midterms? Because that seems to be all that it was. And really that is. Alzheimer's Adolf here with his bizarre decision to very closely crop the picture that made him look like he was from 1984, V for Vendetta, or any other dystopian movie, has entirely backtracked. I wonder how many of the leftoids are actually patting themselves on the back, thinking that this is some sort of a win. They were all in the other day. Oh, yeah, he's calling out MAGA. He's calling out the evil Trump insurrectionists. This is great, Dark Brandon. Are you going to throttle yourself back a little bit now? Because Dark Brandon is much more demure at the moment. That's because he realized that the effect that it had wasn't as intended, and that his speech was not well received, including among some liberals. There are plenty of people that are panning what Biden said the other day. If you're going to address the nation and you're casting yourself off as the unity candidate, the unity president, or steward really, but whatever, you can't then insinuate that 75 plus million people are terrorists within your country. If you do that, then it just doesn't work. It's irreconcilable. And so he is effectively backtracked. Now he's just saying, oh, no, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean anything that I said the other day. It's just Trump is the problem. The same Trump that, by the way, is such an evil threat to democracy that you've decided to wait until after the fucking midterms to decide whether to indict him or not. We'll be covering the 48 empty folders shenanigans as well separately. Very, very funny. It's hilarious. Yeah, people have begun to pixel in the Constantinople region. It's no longer Istanbul. We're taking it back. Although, again, the darker blue there is only supposed to be along the coastline, and the water shouldn't be pixeled in at all. Let me try. I'm trying to help fix this. There's a little bit of disorganization here. The Clank forces need some guidance, I think. See there. There's the waterway. I just pixeled it in. And so that's the color the water should be. The border should be dark blue. The interior should be that laundromat, like that faded blue, like a blue jean blue or whatever you'd fucking call it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just having fun. Johnny Azul, have you had a chance to check out the China Show, formerly ADV podcast? I haven't yet, no. They're among the best Western YouTubers exposing the rot of the CCP. Yeah, actually, one of the news items for today was going to be that China has new economic woes, but I decided to nix that because I have so much Biden-related bullshit to deal with. China is indeed having almost recessionary problems, partially because of their lockdownerism. It's quite something to see them literally curb stomping their own economy. I'm not sure what the hell is going on, but I'm sure there's some ulterior motive. It's not like they need to get people used to more authoritarianism like they're trying to do in the Western world. So I don't actually know what they're doing at this point. Everyone there is already willing to obey any random arbitrary rule at a moment's notice. We know this because it's been happening since forever. Kyle Miller. Feels like Mitch McConnell is okay with losing the Senate so long as Trump-endorsed candidates lose. I agree. He does not want to lose any power that he has. Well, he knows that even if he retakes the Senate, and he would be the presumptive Senate majority leader of yesteryear, the MAGA candidates won't back him. They'll try to force him out. So he's going scorched earth, and he's trying to throw the Senate races by not giving any support to Senate candidates other than a handful of neocons. And then that's, a reflection on Mitch McConnell. It's sour grapes. He's turtle man. I've warned people not to trust him before. It was funny for a brief moment when he kind of had Trump's back. MAGA people are like, well, Mitch McConnell has seen the light. He realizes that he needs to toe the line. And I told people that's not what's happening. No, he's being pragmatic and very strategic about things. You can expect him to stab you in the back. Some people didn't believe it. For some odd reason, it's like, yeah, hasn't he been in the Senate for half of forever? He's been in there as long as goddamn Pelosi. We already know exactly who he is. By the way, almost 2,000 people watching live already. Stephen Lanham, what colors are we in Pixel Planet? Well, in our normal area, it's red and yellow, but we're currently helping the Greeks to retake Constantinople. Here, it's the Greek colors, which you can see if you go over to actual Greece on the map, and you can help them on every border if you want to. It's a dark-ish blue, like a medium blue along the coastline, and then that sort of faded blue color on the interior. I'm literally just doing this because it's amusing to me. I'm helping. I'm participating in life. Albin Jansen. Hello, Sticks. When you talk about your cat's food, it sounds very tasty. I wonder if you've ever tried any of it. Also, I would get very bummed out if you or your felines don't win a Grifties Award, so step up your voting game. No, I've never tried cat food. I did try dry dog food on one occasion when I was down in Florida. And, it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible either. I think it's the idea that keeps people from wanting to eat it more than the actual flavor or anything like that. It's just basically a crunchy, grainy, slightly salty, almost tasteless sort of thing. Uper0987. I played Pixel Planet for an hour yesterday and will do it again today. I challenge the clankers to match me. Yeah, right now we're fucking around with Constantinople. And as far as the Nazis with their bots retaking territory, it doesn't really matter because it's an endless war. It's like clankers will make advances, their bot will kick in, they will make advances. It's just going to continue for literally for fucking ever. So Pixel Planet is not designed to be that serious. It's more just for the fun. Stephen Lanham, thanks, man. Watch you daily. So yeah, Beijing Biden has done a backtrack on his speech from the other day. It was so well received by liberals and everyone else panned it, including independents. And I think that they looked at the snap reaction. They had some people go out and ask, hey, what party are you from? Oh, I'm independent. Did you like Biden's speech the other day? No, I thought it was fucking dystopian. And when he realized this, when he has to face the press the subsequent day, he says, no. I disavow my former comments from less than 24 hours ago. I don't think that Trump fans are bad people. I was only talking about Trump. Just literally ignore everything that I said. That's basically what it boils down to. Next story, and this is a huge one because it was, again, predicted by yours truly. U.S. added 315,000 jobs in August. Unemployment rises to 3.7%. Yes, indeed. We now have, potentially, rising unemployment, which is the result of the bad economy in general and multiple bubbles beginning to burst, in my opinion. The throttling back of hiring and so forth in general among the private marketplace. It will be blamed on the Fed if it continues. So if next month you say, well, it's up to 4% or something, it's clearly beginning to rise again. Biden has already laid the groundwork to explain the problem and say, no, this is the Fed's responsibility. I told you I would trust them to tackle inflation. Maybe they overshot the mark and now people are being jobless. He already did this many months ago. When he was asked what his plan was to tackle inflation, he straight up said, I intend to let the Fed do its job. Well, that's very convenient. It's not your responsibility. It's sort of like with gas prices. When they were rising, it was Russia's fault. Now, all of a sudden, Biden's energy policies are the ones is what's bringing it down. Complete deflection, complete stupidity. Manix 1969. What are your thoughts on President John Adams, second president of the United States, if I remember correctly? Alien and Sedition Act is my thoughts on him. I oppose his existence. He hazarded the First Amendment when we were just right out of the gate as a nation, and he failed in that regard, leading to Thomas Jefferson kicking his ass, undoing that, and subsequently burying his legacy with the Louisiana Purchase, actually. Most people know who Thomas Jefferson is. Him, a little bit less. John Quincy Adams, meanwhile, did a competent job. So unemployment has begun to rise. And if it continues, like let's say it gets to 4.5, maybe 5%, that's not that far from where it is already. And it'll take time for that to happen. Then you have stagflation. You have rising inflation and rising unemployment at the same time as the result of a bad fiscal policy. We haven't really seen this many times before. Often there's an inverse correlation. Okay, inflation's running away, but at least people are employed. Hey, a lot of people are unemployed, but at least the wages that they are getting are roughly stable. When you get both at the same time, it's called stagflation. The last time we had that was in the 1970s under Jimmy Carter. It would be real crippling to the Democrats if we enter that sort of economic stage next month before the midterms. And unfortunately, it's fairly likely, in my opinion, to happen. I've been warning for months that unemployment would probably begin ticking up. People are buying less. They don't have as much money to buy things with. Johnny Azul, did you air dry or blow dry? Do you use leave-in conditioner? I need tips on maintaining COVID-made long hair now that I'm returning to the office. I shampoo it every other day or so, every third day, depending on when I shower. I rarely use conditioner, and I air dry. I do as little as possible to my hair. That's why it's all floofy. Notatron, a little birdie told me that you're debating Dave Smith. Is this true? If so, when? Yes, that's tomorrow, actually. I think around this exact time of day, if I remember correctly. I'll cue you in on that later. But yes, we are debating Trump's legacy. He is, I guess, anti-Trump or a never-Trumper or something at this point. And of course, I defend Trump. I think he did a good job. I want him back. And I've got a million things to say about that. So stay tuned. Fubar 2020, what's your thoughts on Andrew Jackson? He did a pretty good job. He was hardcore. Like that time that he got like a massive ass wheel of cheese and his wife complained about the smell, so he had everyone over to eat it. I can't remember how many pounds the wheel of cheese was, but apparently it was enormous, like 100 fucking pounds of cheese or something like that. So yeah, Andrew Jackson did a much better job than John Adams. I see that we are definitely retaking Constantinople over on Pixel Planet. Here, just a sec, because I know that the Turkish users on Pixel Planet will go absolutely ape over this, and it'll be really funny. But I think that we probably outnumber them. So everyone pour in. There is a link up above in chat if you're on YouTube and cross-platform in the description. Let's retake Constantinople. Even if it's only temporary, it's an epic troll. We're reclaiming Constantinople for the Greek people. Partially as a distraction as they slowly pixel back in. I think Crete was invaded at some point there and a bunch of other shit, and I don't know exactly what the fuck is happening. Pixel Planet's gotten wonky lately, just to tell the truth. Jackson's wheel of cheese was 2,300 pounds. Okay, so a little bit more than 100. Imagine how constipated they were. Opinionated Junkie, I think Hawaii is worse than California. Yeah, but I mean, Hawaii has really lush scenes and shit like that. I mean, there are some advantages. I was looking at land prices by state, and for some reason, some of the land in Hawaii is not that expensive. Probably because, you know, you move there, you're not going to get great internet access and you have to fly or sail anytime you want to go to another state. It's a little bit different economically. I don't know. I thought about that. It'd be cool to be in a place where it's always sunny and warm, and occasionally you get a monsoon, I guess. But Jeffrey, been watching you for quite a while now. Thanks for your videos. Love the live stream format you stumbled into. Yeah, I didn't used to do live streams much until a couple years ago. And then I realized if I did it every single day, twice as many people pay attention to them. So I figured no reason to change a good thing. It's less on the weekends, though. Like since it's Saturday, I expect less people to show up. Yesterday was it 6,500 people or something were watching cross-platform? Next news story. Breaking. Oh, this is a good one. I love it. President Joe Biden has picked former Clinton aide John Podesta to guide climate spending, Tom Basil reports, or Tom Basil or whatever. I've got something to say to liberals. Told you so. Is this not evidence that this is going to be shovel-ready 2.0, and that the Clinton Foundation and wealthy donors and shit who are associated with construction firms and energy firms are about to get a multi-billion-dollar kickback at taxpayer expense? It's going to be sort of like the bailouts that Obama initiated as the pig in a poke reaction to the beginning of the Great Recession. Yeah, Skippy, you call me Pa. Opinionated junkie, Hawaii does have areas where it is locals only. Yeah, I don't think that they can prevent you from buying land in Hawaii because you happen not to be of the right ethnicity or anything like that. But I think most people wouldn't want to move into an area anyway where they're going to be like a total minority, generally. Although it's kind of fun in southern Texas. Michael Cricklow, will you release a cookbook in the future? Now I got to learn more recipes. But damn, that mushroom, it was Hungarian-style mushroom soup, and damn, it was fucking good. Professor Plaguebat, my current employer has been on a hiring spree despite the RV manufacturers here having layoffs and cutting back on days. It will hit us, just don't know when. Pontoon boats aren't like RVs. Yeah, so John Podesta is going to be taking tens of billions of taxpayer dollars and deciding what to invest it in as far as green energy goes. And climate spending is what they call it. So, hey, if we build this road, and it just happens to be a company that, Chelsea Clinton has a 10% share in, that's the only one that can build it. It'll make it marginally more efficient to travel from Kalamazoo to Austin or something like that. So we're going to build this road. We'll allocate $500 million towards those funds. Hey, this company is making solar panels. Yeah, the Chinese company that actually owns it or is heavily invested in it happens to have Clinton Foundation ties. They pay a lot of money to them and no one knows where it goes. We'll give them $500 million because they want to make, solar panels or something. Hey, here's this EV company. And it just happens to be tied to multiple senators and maybe to the Podesta family, the Bidens, whatever. Hunter Biden is on the chair. And it's not a conflict of interest for us to give him $1 billion to obtain, to mine more lithium in Utah or something like that. That's exactly what will happen. We've seen it before. It's not unique to this administration. It's been happening for the entirety of U.S. political history. It happens in every other country. It's just dirty dealing. This is embezzlement, effectively. What the government is doing is embezzling taxpayer money to pay for pet projects and pork barrel handouts for wealthy donors to buy them off, for the political elite that are loyal to them and their ideology, number two, and to various others to look good for branding purposes. Hey, here's this young entrepreneur. They were born very poor, and they're a minority, obviously. And they got into Harvard, and they did really well. And now they have this investment firm. Well, we're going to double their money because they've got this bright new idea for how to make solar panels more efficient by putting them on hot air balloons and getting them closer to the sun or something like that. And it'll be meaningless. It'll be like Solyndra. It'll be like half the shovel-ready jobs. Shovel-ready wasn't shovel-ready, said Barack Obama at the time when queried several years later. Yeah, sorry that we wasted tens of billions of your dollars, causing some inflation in the process. We're really sorry about that shit. Yeah, nobody could have seen it coming. Josh, leftoids worship the Warhammer Chaos Gods. I think Nurgle's better myself. Yeah, we've retaken the outskirts of Constantinople. Keep fighting, clankers. They're trying to pixel it in. There are an awful lot of people that are very, very mad at us right now, I wager. Ha 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 ha. Yes. Ha ha ha. I don't know. I just find that funny. Yeah, it looks like all of Turkey has turned out to combat the Greek wave that is taking over Constantinople. Again, links in the description as well as above in chat if you happen to be on YouTube. Keep pixeling it in blue. They are, by the way, obviously botting. They use bots that suddenly make a huge number of pixels far faster than a human could possibly do that. The people in the giant swastika in Africa are doing the same thing. Somebody tried to point it out. I think they got banned from chat. Blinded by the light. I wonder how these libs cannot see what is happening. Are their blinkers on so tight that they are nearly blind? Well, yeah, otherwise they wouldn't be leftoids, I guess. It's not just garden variety liberals. It's mainly leftoids that are having this problem. Although even some of them are in admission calling out Joe Biden's speech and the appointment of Podesta So, I mean, that's progress. There's a little bit of recognition of reality there. It's just a blunted one. Alexandros Sirambidis, Gog and Magog, Russia and the good Muslims will take back Hagia Sophia and give back the cathedral and the land to its original people of Pontos. Yeah, we're all Greeks right now, fighting for Constantinople. Again, I think the Greeks retook Crete already, but part of the northern part of their country is still reddened. The people of Turkey have gone further than I know their territorial extent extends. I think they got invaded by the Serbians or something at one point there. For a while, it looked like the Serbians had it looks like they've annexed Macedonia or some shit like that. So we're helping the Greeks right now and having a good time. I'm watching the pixels in real time randomly changing, and it's hilarious as fuck. I don't know. It's just a good way to spend a little bit of time. It's one of those things that you do sort of on the side while you're doing something more productive. So I'll be like editing, and I do a page, and then I scatter a few pixels, do a page. It helps actually with my ADHD. It's very hard for me to focus on things for long periods, but if I'm mixing it up, it makes it a little bit easier. And so Pixel Planet actually is pretty good for that, I will admit. Victor Snyder, threat to democracy is what I am now. Yeah, no, and yesterday you were a threat to democracy. Today, Biden totally doesn't fucking mean it. Today, Biden only meant Trump. He has completely backtracked on this issue, which is hilarious. Johnny Azul, do you think Biden legitimately forgot what he said in that speech the other day? Yeah, because he didn't write the speech. And, that can happen to anyone, right? You call 75 plus million people terrorists or enemies of the state, and then the next day you say, oh, I didn't say that. I was just talking about one dude. What are you talking about? So yeah, Podesta's got tens of billions of dollars now to embezzle, which will happen. He may not do it personally, but a middleman will help him get his share. The little guy will get his 10%, I'm sure. He'll make sure to spend that money only on the most noble of causes. It'll really, really help with getting more electric vehicles and windmills working. It'll really help with hydro. Notice that it probably won't go to nuclear energy. The Germans are finding out the hard way that they should have listened to Trump back in 2018 when he told them that they were hamstringing themselves by becoming reliant on Russian natural gas. Very interesting. Now I've got another one. I have to relate another user, the Privacy Pagan, actually here posting this. Because Sam Harris has blocked me on Twitter like a coward, like a fucking pussy, which is the average liberal. This is what he said the other day in response to Biden's speech. I love seeing Trumpists condemning the political optics of this image. This is the one where Biden is like, and he's got like the red behind him. And it looks like a scene from a dystopian film. And people are making multiple connections. 1984, V for Vendetta, et cetera, et cetera. I wonder if there's a scene like that from Brazil. I think that was a little bit different aesthetically speaking. Very, very 80s movie, though, all in all. Brazil, very good movie. Watch it now. Admittedly, they are terrible. Well, at least he's admitting the truth. But they are only bad by reference to values that should lead you to totally repudiate Trump himself. So in other words, Biden appearing Trumpish, which is what he's saying, is an excuse for Biden to do this. It's about Orange Man. Ignore completely what Biden said. Just look at the image. For Biden, this is a gaffe. For Trump, it would be a window into his soul. Yeah, okay, all right. Enough of this bullshit. Fuck Sam Harris. He's a coward. God, he probably blocked half of fucking Twitter with his other foibles the other time, like a week ago. Pale Blue, lately you've been talking about linguistic warfare and linguistics. Have you written any books, or can you recommend any books to better wield words and defend yourself linguistically? I touch upon it briefly in Occult Memetics, which is a book I wrote years ago. I do not have, I think, a specific work actually on linguistics, though. I should probably write one. Cousin Vinny, can I send you a DM on Twitter? I've tried recently, but haven't gotten a response. Yes, you can. Identify yourself as Cousin Vinny in the DM, or I might not know it's you, unless that's your username or something. You got to realize that I get 30 or 40 messages every day just of news tips, so it's difficult sorting through everything. I am a one-man army, but armies have only a certain amount of manpower. Michael Cricklow, do you mind explaining the origins of Keck? It's an Egyptian god that became popularized alongside Pepe for multiple reasons in the 2016 election, very mimetic in nature. I think that they're trying to do mimetics here with the Dark Brandon thing. I think they're trying to invoke images of like Moloch worship or something, and they think people will not find this cringe. I think the baby has something to say about politics. Friendly Neighborhood Sawyer, are you 100% clean these days? What's your poison? This is my poison. Lots and lots of caffeine. I need it. I can't function without it. When you do this kind of work, you need a little bit of a pick-me-up in the morning. Alexander Curry, is the Banana Republic Biden administration crony capitalist or fascist? It's just socialist, but it has elements of fascism. It's corporatism, crony capitalism really verges in on fascism. They are basically overlapped, so it's not a huge differentiation. Spider Eternal, should I side with the Institute? Be well, friend. I have trouble in Fallout 4 figuring out who to side with, and basically what I thought is it boils down to what you consider important. When you're released into the world of Fallout 4, of course, you're trying to find your son, then find, spoiler alerts, by the way, find that he's an old man, he's running the Institute, etc., etc. Although I believe that the sole survivor is a synth, Sean may very well be a synth too. Dog Meat's a synth, and, well, I can make a whole video about that sometime. I've come to the conclusion that the sole survivor is not actually a human being. And so if you give that the main importance, yeah, you'll side with the Institute. You don't want to kill your son. If you believe in liberty, depending on whether you consider since people or not, you'll side with either the Minutemen or with the Railroad. If you consider restoring order and only humanity important and hate the Institute for what it stands for, you'll side with the Brotherhood. It depends on what you give importance to. I typically side with the Minutemen because then you can get the good ending where you don't have to combat the other factions. The Institute's gone, which is sad. And usually what I do is I just go into the Institute and I just lay waste to everything and kill everybody. And then I've got power armor, obviously, for the carrying capacity. And I take as much as I can carry out. And that's less enemies to fight when you end up invading the Institute with whatever faction you're invading with. I usually blow Sean's head off because I know he's going to die anyway. So I'm like, it's a mercy killing. You got cancer or something. Pale Blue, please do. I've already read Ohm, and it was pretty good. Cheers. Best to you and your family. By the way, what other fucking live stream can you tune into where the person randomly deviates into Fallout 4 lore while talking about news items? By the way, 4,000 people almost watching. So yeah, Sam Harris can get fucked, basically, for both being a goddamn coward, number one, and for his constant bad political takes. And at this point, I have to believe, and I believe this about multiple leftoid content creators, I think it's more about deliberately being provocative than actually making sense. It's like you say something that you know is going to get panned simply because it's going to get you more attention. Because with Sam Harris, like, he's from yesteryear and nobody really pays attention to him anymore for the most part. And I figure he's just trying to get attention. The breadliners do this constantly. Don't put it past him. Yeah. I see that Constantinople is literally a goddamn war zone there. I think people are invading several other parts of coastal Turkey at the moment. We must help our Greek brothers. We must proceed. Maybe I should do a one-off video, the invasion of Constantinople later on, just to screw them with them even harder. Discomancer, here's some cash for one caffeine-addicted wizard to another. You're way more rad, though. Cheers. I'm sure you're plenty rad if you're a caffeine addict, of course. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. This is a human interest story that most of you will find amusing. Comicbook.com on Twitter, verified account, so take everything they say with a grain of salt. To combat review bombing, Amazon has suspended user reviews for the Rings of Power. This is their new series, the Lord of the Rings knockoff series, we'll call it. Did not every single content creator that talked about this warn about how it was going to be panned and fall flat? It wasn't me. It wasn't just evil right-wing commentators trying to stir up people. Didn't everyone goddamn pan this preemptively based just on a few stills and a couple of like half-assed trailers? What I pointed out months ago was that it would fail because of the CGI and the effects. Adding to that, based on what I'm hearing, it's also failing because the plotline makes no sense. I don't care if you want to have woke dwarves or Sauron is an albino, which I don't know if that's fully canonical, but yeah, it looks imposing, doesn't look bad. I don't care if you want to make the orcs white and the elves African American or anything like that. To me, it doesn't matter. But when you combine the wokeness, which alienates some potential viewers, with the complete departure from canon, which alienates basically all core Tolkien fans, with bad CGI and acting, who is left? People who will watch the series because they've told that it's bad for being woke, and they don't want to be seen as woke, so they'll pretend to enjoy it. And that's the core audience for Amazon's Lord of the Rings. It's not even really Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power, they call it that for a reason. They've got Galadriel doing completely non-canonical shit. She's now a warrior for some reason. There's no attempt to follow along with Tolkien's ethnic canon, which was partially based on goddamn Norse sagas of all things. There was no point to making this at all. I don't know why the Tolkien family even allowed Amazon to get a hold of this. Yeah, you had to have known that it would be ruined. Now you're going to have small independent film franchises that did stuff like Finding Golem that were 10 times better than anything you're going to see here. They get shafted. Watch Finding Golem sometime. It was made by a small independent film group. It was very, very low budget. I think it was a couple $100,000 total to make an almost feature-length film with, well, the CGI is not that good, but relatively good acting, very good practical effects, easily as good as anything you saw in The Lord of the Rings. Battle scenes, the choreography, everything, just as good as Peter Jackson's fucking Lord of the Rings. Watch it. And tell me that it wouldn't have been better to simply tack a zero onto their budget and let them take over and let them make this shit. I'm not even going to watch this shit. I knew it would suck from day one because I saw the bad CGI. If you're going to release a trailer, if you're going to release something and you want to wow people, you want them to be like, oh shit, this is going to be great. I'm tuning in. I'm getting Amazon Prime. And it fails completely. And for me, it failed because I looked at the effects and said, that looks more primitive than anything I saw in any of Peter Jackson's installments. It looks more like you gave it to Ralph Bakshi. Why the fuck would I want to watch it? I want some eye candy. If the plot line's a little slow, it's a little bit woke, okay, I can deal with that. Okay, now there are multicultural elves. I'll look past it. But you've ruined it. You're not even giving us like with you remember the Balrog, for example, from the first Lord of the Rings movie. It was eye candy. It was great for the effects of the time. It was incredible. You look at the wargs and shit like that. If you look at Smaug from the Hobbit trilogy, it was honestly impressive. It dragged on way too long. A lot of people have negative things to say about the Hobbit trilogy. I guarantee you half of those negative reviews will disappear after people watch this. They'll say, oh, I guess the Hobbit wasn't that bad after all. It'll have the same prequel sort of thing going on that Star Wars had. Very, very interesting. By the way, I think Razorfist himself pointed that out as well, and he's more into the film and animation sort of side of things than I am. So we'll just take it from him. Friendly Neighborhood Sawyer, watch the Hunter trailer. Also, please do the Fallout 4 vid. Yeah, I guess I have to do that, and I haven't gotten a chance yet. I've been too busy. I've been editing up a storm. I've got everything going on at once. Wouldn't have it any other way because it keeps me from getting bored, but it can be a little bit overwhelming. 1995 Supra Black, for a recipe, you should check out Pow Wow Chow. Crab with tomato mayo is fantastic. Yes, Elizabeth Warren and her infamous entry from, what was it, the 70s or 80s, into Pow Wow Chow. Yes, Native American tribes regularly used fucking mayonnaise in their crab cake recipes, according to Elizabeth Warren. And just think, a significant proportion of Democrats support the concept that she should have been the president. Mungi, a few streams ago you said Hercules was the last good animated Disney movie. You are forgetting the masterpiece that is The Emperor's New Groove. That one was acceptable. It was passable. I don't think I've ever watched the full thing front to back, but I did see enough of it. Yeah, it's fairly good. The Landlord Harassment Channel. You see what I said about Chicago? Yes, I got that message. I understand that you're probably not going to get shot in Chicago, but I still wouldn't want to take the chance of the elevated risk, is what I meant. And yeah, I wouldn't want to wander around parts of Chicago at night, even if I didn't appear like a gang member. Lemon Roos, please say, I'm shitting and farting. I think Amazon is when they see the shitty reviews. And keep in mind, of course, they can close their own reviews off. But that doesn't mean Rotten Tomatoes doesn't exist, and that shows the same fucking goddamn ratio. Critics are like, wow, this is so great. The audience score is bullshit, basically. Nobody likes it. It's like, I think it was at 38% or something. Let me check that. I'll fact check. We'll fact check Rotten Tomatoes. If I can, yeah, there's the Amazon page. Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power, 36%. The average tomato meter for critics, 84%. When you see this sort of massive differential between what the critics say is good and what the audience says is good, that's shenanigans. That's a corporation protecting itself. And I say this, by the way, as someone, I like Amazon. I full stop. I'm not going to deny it. I make a lot of money through Amazon. Their self-publishing service is incredible. Other than their template's not working anymore. Whatever. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind Amazon as a company, but you're ruining Lord of the Rings completely. You should have sold this. The Tolkien family should have taken a couple zeros off the total that they got and sold it to that small independent film company that did Finding Gollum. It would have been better for Tolkien's legacy, ultimately. They didn't care. They wanted the money. Amazon's like, hey, we'll give you like 50 million big ones just to let us make a fucking series and completely run it into the ground to make it woke. Oh, okay, 50 million. Yeah, that's all right. Make it 55 million and we'll say yes. Croque Menor, Jane Fonda has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at 84. Yeah, that's sad. One of the more bearable leftoids lately, mainly because she's quieter than many of them. The Landlord Harassment Channel. When are you going to admit that you're Chong's son? Oh, Tommy Chong? Maxwell Bashules. Hey, Sticks, any particular documentaries that you like? Also, I recommend you check out the YouTuber Wendigoon. Very informative videos on Waco and Christianity. I'll check that out. I really have gotten into the Halifax explosion lately, which is one of the most weird events ever. Massive explosion, Halifax Harbor. Involved an ammo ship that was clearly a little bit overladen with explosives, and a series of unfortunate events then caused large numbers of people to die and detonated an explosion in the multi-kiloton range before nuclear weapons were developed. Fascinating. There's, I think, 3 or 4 documentaries on YouTube about that. Next, we have Arden Farhi, who I think is from CBS News, actually. Putting forth a little bit here about the detailed inventory of the Mar-a-Lago search. By the numbers with Rob Lagar. Docs marked top secret, 18. Docs marked secret, 54. Docs marked confidential, 31. USG docs without any classification markings, 11,179. Empty folders with classified banners, 48. This part is being made a lot of. People are saying, well, he removed the classified material from the classified banners. Clearly, this is mishandling of paperwork. And I'm thinking to myself, is that the only explanation? It sounds like the only explanation if you hate Donald Trump. I can think of multiple other ways in which those banners could be there. Number 1, they're copies. Number 2, the documents have been fully declassed and they're no longer particularly relevant. Number 3, he just took the fucking banners from the White House and they never had a document in them to begin with. That's entirely possible. But of course, no, Orange Man bad. So clearly, like a buffoon, like an orange retarded baby, he literally took top secret documents, ripped the top secret header off of them, thought nothing of this, stashed them in a goddamn drawer or a box or something like that, and thought there'd be no repercussions. That's totally Trump's MO. You'd have to be crazy to believe that, but apparently these people are crazy. Empty folders labeled return to staff secretary or military aid, 42. So he was sorting through things, I guess, attempting to return it to the military. Articles of clothing and gift items, 19. Now, that doesn't sound like it belongs on the inventory list. I had a feeling, I thought this was about the Espionage Act or misfiling paperwork or something. Why are you taking Melania's evening dress? I have a feeling some pervert just wanted a pair of her panties or something. Articles of clothing and gifts items, 19. Books, 33. Why? Did he write down classified stuff in the books? Did you really have time to check the whole fucking library? That's impressive considering the time period. News clippings, 1,673. These are definitely not classified, now are they? Trump had a scrapbook of news clippings about himself because he's a blind egotist, and you seized it anyway? That doesn't sound like it belongs under the search warrant. Total item seized, 13,097. So there you go. It's a nothing burger. And they massively overstretched beyond the warrants category. They were supposed to be there pertinent to documents covered potentially under the Espionage Act. Well, technically, I mean, that's the warrant. But then it turns out the reasoning for that had nothing to do with the Espionage Act, it had to do with the National Archives. But going beyond that, I don't think that clothing is paperwork. I don't think that a dress can be classified now, can it? I don't think that a book that you personally own is generally classified. And news clippings, I'm having a real hard time believing that those were classified. Could it have been that Trump was conducting a little bit of an investigation into some bureaus that then decided to raid him? Yeah, I think that's a more fitting explanation than anything else at this moment. Sammy K sent $20 without a comment. Thank you very much. That was Biden's Weimar speech. Well, I mean, the economy's similar, so there's that. Yeah, I guess that they took Melania's panties, and, you know, some of them are into boys, so they probably took some of Barron Trump's clothes. I guess that's really what they were after. They just wanted Melania Trump's used panties. They wanted to sniff Donald Trump's sperm off of them or something like that. I wouldn't put it past some of the people at the FBI. When you look at Love Int and some of the other shit that's gone on with the NSA and similar groups, spying on loved ones, personal vendettas, etc., it's really not that big a stretch to believe that that would be the case. And I can't understand why clothing would be taken. The FBI agents, having been even remotely trained, had to have known that's not pertinent to what the warrant has been issued for. The warrant's been issued for paperwork specifically of a classified nature that is pertinent to the National Archives case against Trump. It's, by the way, not even a law. We're talking about regulations at that point that are basically just federal rules. We're not talking about a specific piece of legislation. The Presidential Records Act and shit like that. How the fuck is Melania's evening dress part of presidential record? How the hell does it have anything to do with that? How are news clippings possibly pertinent to anything remotely connected to the warrant? You'd have to go so far out of your way to justify the taking of a bunch of news clippings, unless maybe they were just stapled to the top secret documents. They'll probably try to claim that's the case. They clearly exceeded their warrant's authority. They clearly botched this in numerous ways at this point. I mean, Jesus Christ. How much beyond the pale does a case have to go before people say, okay, this is getting a little bit odd? Liberals in the past, like, you know, before the Trump era when CNN convinced them all Orange Man bad, would have had a field day ridiculing this sort of thing. And they didn't like the FBI anyway to begin with. Now all of a sudden they're a bunch of bootlickers. Just Revenant. That Biden speech was very reminiscent of Visery giving a speech to his masked black-clad mutants from Killzone, the video game. I've never heard of it or played it. Michael Cricklow, do you like house music or techno? Not a whole lot of it. I like electronica music. Some of the, like Pet Shop Boys is pretty good. Depeche Mode is my favorite band. Dancey music like that, but not really house music or something. The baby was clearly hungry and is currently getting late lunch. Sammy K, Sticks, you're great and always right. KDP fan here and shameless plug for my ebook, also on Amazon, Safely Joining Bitcoin. Thank you. I'll consider a shout out. I don't tend to do ebooks though. The threshold for content on ebooks is much higher, especially with copyright, by the way, than for paperbacks. I don't know why. It's always been that way. So after the first 50 or 60 editions, I stopped making ebooks. Jesse JFR, perhaps there's an invisible map on her panties. We need more heat. Yeah. They just wanted to sniff her period or something like that. Apache Senpai, ghosted a stream bad-mouthing Trump and praising DeSantis. Seems like people pushing DeSantis ignore he only won because of Trump's endorsement. Fact check, mostly true. DeSantis won by a very, very small margin, and Trump's endorsement did effectively cause him to win. Which is why DeSantis won't stand in Trump's way if he runs again, by the way. Just to be clear. We're checking up on Constantinople. We're still making progress. Keep it up. Link in the description on both platforms. And on YouTube at the top of chat, we are pixeling in the Constantinople area around the Bosphorus, which you can see there, to the blue colors that you see, and getting rid of the red there in retaliation for the Turkish armies invading Greece. Although it seems like they were also invaded by the Bulgarians at some point. I don't know what's happening with the baby right now. She doesn't sound very happy. Sort of like what Yana does every single night, actually. She's way, way more chuffy than the baby could ever be. The cat's the real problem around here. Wakes me up at 5 o'clock in the morning and crazy shit like that. Next story. Liberal media largely defends Fetterman skipping Oz debate over stroke remarks, but some are calling him out. Yes, indeed. Fetterman is not being fully defended with regards to deciding not to debate Mehmet Oz. Mehmet Oz had said, well, you know, you had a stroke. I'd still like to debate you. You can bring notes and stuff like that, like an earpiece and shit, and to give him basically a leg up. Now, if I were Fetterman, I would take the deal, of course, because then it's like you can't lose the debate. You can bring your own notes to the debate. Hell yeah, sign me up. I don't care if I just had a stroke. But Mehmet Oz is being panned because Fetterman's campaign cast it off as Mehmet Oz making a joke, making fun of Fetterman for having had a stroke. What I pointed out is if you're not capable of debating your opponent for the position, you're not qualified to represent in that position, number one. Number two, he's refusing the debate, so he's not going out before people, putting his views out there. It makes it look like he's not fully confident in his views being accepted by the people of Pennsylvania. And number three, and here's a big one, not every legacy media outlet is actually receptive to the excuse-making of the Fetterman campaign. Most of them are, as this article points out. It is from Fox, so it's obviously politically lopsided. CNN was on board, MSNBC, and so forth. But some liberals were like, hey, if you just had a stroke, you know, we feel sorry for you. You know, we like you. We like your ideology. Yeah, ban all guns. More taxes and stuff. Wokeness. But you're not able to debate. And it looks weak. And it's a problem. And Mehmet Oz might actually win because you're unwilling to debate him. And I think that might actually happen. Mehmet Oz has been definitely down in the polls. I don't know that that'll continue. If Herschel Walker and some of these others are an indicator, the Republicans in many of these Senate positions especially are now on the rise. At the perfect time, by the way, because it's the beginning of September. I would say that the odds of Fetterman winning a week ago were like 85, 90%. Now I would say it's down to like 65%. I think Mehmet Oz now has a measurable chance because his opponent literally does not want to debate him. His opponent also doesn't do as many campaign stops, partially because he's recovering from a stroke. But guess what? It doesn't matter to the people of Pennsylvania. If they're going to hire someone, they expect them to do their job. They might be very sympathetic towards the fact that he had a fucking stroke, but it's not their problem. It's Fetterman's problem. The fact that his stroke chose poor timing as far as campaigning for a Senate seat is not material in any way, shape, or form. And when Mehmet Oz says, okay, I still want to debate you, you can, you can have we'll have medical staff there. That makes sense, actually. That's not an insult. You can have your notes and shit because, your brain is a little foggy right now. You fucking had a stroke. That's not an insult. That's a conciliatory gesture. It was taken as an insult. Of course, it doesn't help that Mehmet Oz has gone full scorched earth on Twitter and keeps saying wacky shit, but he's basically trying to do a Trump. I love it when he tries to do that because it doesn't really work, but he's still making headway. JWT6577, what's your opinion on ebooks as a whole? I find I don't retain nearly as much compared to reading a paper book. I agree. And ebooks, you don't own anything. It's just a bunch of zeros and ones that go away when the power goes out. I prefer real paperbacks. Reality Paranormal. Biden getting backlash for that weird speech before the midterms is great. Unrelated note, I'm going to see Rammstein in Texas this month. Excited. Second day in a row that they get mentioned. I'm not even a fan of their music. George Georger, didn't the Clintons steal artwork and silverware from the White House and had to return it? I don't know about artwork, but I remember the silverware story, and I think there were like napkins and towels and shit like that. Yes, they did. They tried to take it home. Not exactly top secret documents, though. Although Bill Clinton did have potentially classified material spoken of in his sock drawer VHS collection. Sparky, happy Saturday, Sticks. Yes, indeed. And then we have the last news story here, just a brief one. President Biden opining the other day, America has often made its greatest progress after coming out of our darkest hours. I would just like to point out that it's good Joe Biden is predicting that when he finally leaves office, we are in one of our darker hours at the moment, that things will get better. He's predicting MAGA comes back or something akin to it, and we actually go back to making progress. I find this quite uplifting. This is a positive message. It's very optimistic. Thank you, Joe. Once you're gone, things will probably get better. Unless you happen to get replaced with someone even further crazier than you, Kamala Harris or something like that. Moffat Life. Hi, Sticks. What do you think of Julian Janes? Don't think I've ever heard of them. We have retaken much of Constantinople, but we must continue. Keep pixeling it in. Again, links in the description. How many people are watching live right now, by the way? It is now 4,500 people watching live. Joker1 on Rumble. Christopher Ray found Hoover's hand-me-downs dated, so he needed Melania's panties for the White House press correspondence dinner. The Patriot Chiro. The United States has never been multicultural. It's always been multi-ethnic with one American culture, liberty. I agree. I think I made a video about that 7 or 8 years ago, actually. Brian Zwart. I can't read paperbacks anymore since I have to use my readers and a good reading lamp. Ebooks are much better, in my opinion. Yeah, but there's nothing tangible there. It's probably stored on a cloud somewhere anyway. You probably don't even own the file. Anthony Haying, $20. No comment. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the biggest news of the day, arguably, though, is the Podesta story. Because imagine, you're a liberal, right? You probably have soured on the Clinton dynasty. Podesta was a big part of that. Biden comes in, you're like, well, at least it's not Hillary Clinton, and at least it's not Donald Trump. And then he puts Podesta in to take tens of billions of your dollars and dispense them to private industries and in grant and loan form for various endeavors. It's not going to get embezzled at all. I find that the one the funniest. I guess technically the bigger story is Biden backtracking and completely countermanding what he said the other day, because it shows hypocrisy and memory loss, one or the other and possibly both. But I just find the Podesta story fascinating. There are liberals that they're not really defending it, but they're not criticizing it either. It's like they've gotten themselves painted into a corner where they're afraid if they criticize anything that the Beijing Biden Banana Republic regime does, they'll get called a Trump lover or extremist MAGA or something. So they don't even bother to criticize anything that he does, even if it's that far beyond the pale. John Podesta is like the ultimate face of the establishment inside and of money embezzlement and grifting and con jobs and shit like that. Like, yeah, you'd have to get Jonathan Gruber involved to get beyond that. He was sued by my home state, and I think he settled out for $200,000 or something like that. Trying to look into Vermont getting single payer. It didn't work too well, and he overcharged. Transylvanian 90. I got back from a week in Greenland. That place is worth visiting for anyone who loves a rugged, otherworldly landscape. Looks like Mars up north. Too cold for me. Then we have on Rumble, your mom was a hamster. Fetterman will win no matter what. And that's exactly why the governor race is the most important in Pennsylvania. The elections here need to be defortified or they don't even matter. It is possible for Oz to win if Fetterman does not debate him, and he seems not inclined to do so, and continues not to campaign. His support will organically eke away. You could see a very real tightening in the polls. If then you assume that there's any boost in turnout for the GOP on election day, and I think that there will be, I don't think that the blue resurgence thing is real. I think it's horseshit. You'll end up with a situation where the GOP could take the Senate. It's not highly likely at this particular moment. We got to keep looking at the polls. You've got several surprise close races, including in Georgia, with regards to the Senate. Personally, I think if Herschel Walker actually does win, and we've only got 2 new polls that show him ahead, just to be clear, that's not enough data points. If he wins against Warnock, I think the Senate will go narrowly GOP. The House won't even be close. The GOP will take it. I think they'll end up with a 20 to 25 seat advantage in the House, which is a pickup of closer to 35, by the way. It's pretty big. Friendly Neighborhood Sawyer, is U.S. not multicultural? What is U.S. culture? U.S. culture is being an American, with all of the various things sub-associated with it. Sparky, at least J. Edgar Hoover was limited by physical file cabinet space. Yeah, they're going to digitize Melania's panties. That was the entire premise. They probably would try to do something like that just to humiliate Trump. And then when he comes out and says, well, I'm angry about this, they'll say, oh, look at him whining again. he brought it upon himself that his wife's panties were digitized by the FBI and leaked to the public because he wants women to be slaves, so he deserves it or something. They've actually said similar stuff about Melania. Who was it there? That one wingnut who said that Barron Trump should be locked in a cage with pedophiles or something? I didn't see much outrage over that from the liberal media, by the way. Still making a huge amount of progress over in the Constantinople area in Turkey. Again, links in the description and above in chat. Although I do have to go off here in just a minute. Yeah, close to 5,000 watching live, and it's a Saturday, so people are busy doing other shit in the morning. They're still sleeping in. That's pretty good, just to be clear. By the way, again, remember tomorrow I will be debating Adam Smith on Liberty Lockdown, I believe it was, and that'll be a fun time. But it sounds like I have something else that I need to do right now. Wow related, could be diaper related. So pray for me. That's about all. Peace out.